influencing that. I'll start with you, Honorable Thuku. Do you think this is the way to go in terms of what should influence whether or not this is passed or rejected, as opposed to, you know, the contents of the draft bill?
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I wish to thank KTN for having us this morning here. Now, if I got your question right.
Yes. Go ahead. Do you feel that it should be politics that influences whether or not they reject or pass the bill, or should it be the contents and what it means for devolution?
You know, the fact of the matter is politics of the day are already playing a major role on the issue of this debate.
Yes.
And now, Honorable Jacob Midio just left the seat I'm sitting on here. And you see, he comes and talks about being, I don't know, the Nyanza coordinator. But then again, goes ahead and starts attacking Deputy President William Ruto. And you see, now when he does that, you know, those of us who have been in Uhuru Kenyatta's party, deputized by William Ruto, you know, we feel the urge to counter such narratives. And we tend to view that this is not just about BBI. There are political tones underneath. People have been going into meetings out there. They talk about BBI. Then all of a sudden they start attacking Deputy President William Ruto. You know, now that creates a lot of conflict, because we say this is not what we expect. If it is about BBI, let's discuss the content, which will lead us into asking questions. For example, myself as an MCA, you know, number one, I'm asking myself, when we had the 2010 constitution change, draft copies were printed and they were taken all over. Now, it's funny because we are expected to be passing this bill. I've never seen copies of the BBI brought to the Nyeri County Assembly for members to familiarize themselves with the content of the BBI. So that's a challenge. Then, from what we have gleaned from this process, and that is why some of us have been supporting the separation of questions. We have multiple questions. For example, you find in the BBI, there is a very popular narrative that is being advanced that we shall get 35% of resources devolved to the ground. Now, you ask yourself, is this possible?
And that's a question we'll get to later on. But I'd like to bring in Honorable Gichuhi to tell us his thoughts on whether politics or the actual contents, even though we haven't seen the copies, as the Honorable Thuku has pointed out, which should take center stage. And of course, the MCAs are the most powerful people right now in the country when it comes to the BBI initiative. So tell us, what do you think would take will be the deciding factor when it comes to the draft bill?
So thank you so much. I think part of this constitutional amendment is political. And part of it will be dictated by the content. With me, I have a copy of it, and the document itself, the bill itself, has got a lot of substance, but it has some problems and issues that are coming up, which are dictated by the social, political, and economic problems. The document itself has got some very good issues in it, very good things in it, but it is not timely. You'll find that in Mount Kenya region, the document has not yet reached our people. But for those who have read it, it has got some content that are okay with the leadership and the people of Mount Kenya. But now there are some underlying issues that need to be addressed, which our people are saying.
Yes.
They are saying this, that we have some diseases that are the pandemic that is affecting us. We have some economic problems. And in fact, there are some who see the BBI as a way of drawing some people out of the 2022 succession politics and bringing some into the succession politics of 2022. And mind you, to affirm that it is very untimely, we are only 1.5 years to the general elections. So it shows now from here, from now the campaigns of the referendum of the BBI, then it will go straight to the campaigns of the 2022 general elections. So it shows that from here we shall have no time now to work again. We shall be going straight to the campaigns, and it's like it will take another 1.5 years for the campaigns of the two issues ahead of us.
Okay, yes. And so based on all you have said, do you feel that MCAs can act with autonomy and focus on those issues that they feel need to be addressed, or will they be going based on the political currents of the season?
So many things will determine the passing of this bill. And remember, a bill comes to our assemblies, you cannot put a comma or a dot. You cannot add anything. You cannot remove anything. You just endorse it the way it is, or reject it the way it is. Yes. The whole of it. But our leadership in the assemblies, the majority leaders and the whips and the MCAs are the ones that shall determine whether to pass or not. But I can attest to it that most of the county assemblies, the way I see it right now, they might pass this bill.
All right.
They might pass this bill, but there are some regions that will reject it, and others shall pass it, depending on their political affiliations and the succession politics of 2022. Okay,
Kevin Osido, when you hear that, how does that make you feel, given that you are a strong proponent of contents and issues that affect devolution, and of course its survival is based on how leaders actually act, but if they're basing it on political currents, then this is not a very good thing, is it, in your view?
Thank you so much, Twix. And I am in agreement with my co-panelists.
Yes.
And I want to appeal to them at the point when they have to engage with their citizens, because remember that this particular bill will have to get to a level of citizen and public participation.
Yes.
But as elected leaders, because they're already exercising the power that has been given to them by the electorate, they should not wait for politics. And you realize that both of them agree that actually the BBI report and bill has great content, which means that the people should be looking at the low-lying fruits and, of course, how we can be able to secure the future, both of the places where they have been elected and also the various 1,490 other wards in this country. So, Trex, in my view, I am of the opinion that we need to focus on the content. Yes, of course, as Mheshimiwa Dugu rightfully said, the BBI process is also a political process. But I want to appeal to our leaders to give content much more value as opposed to the politics. Because if we are going to be looking at the politics rather than the content, and as Mheshimiwa Nation said, this train has already left the station by virtue of the fact that IEBC has already okayed the 1.14 million votes. It means that regardless of whichever side that you take, the process is going on. So the ultimate point is, are we going to be able to effectively engage with the citizens to allow them to have a yes vote based on the content of the report, or are we going to be looking at a no vote based on who is losing from the BBI report and also the proposals that have already been put in the amendment, the Constitution Amendment Bill? So in my view, we should emphasize on content. And in fact, as elected leaders, it's really upon them, because people will be asking them, you were there when the Constitution was being amended.
Right.
Now we are losing, because if we give a no vote, it means that we are actually giving a no even to devolution, for which if you look at a lot of the content that we are talking about, from my perspective, engaging with almost all the 47 counties, including the County Assemblies Forum, I have gone through the recommendation, the report which they gave to the steering committee and also the task force of the BBI. It is really a complete positive approach from the county assemblies. And so I think that in my view, as they engage with their citizens, they need to emphasize much more on the content as opposed to the politics. Yes, okay. Of course, there are also people who are seeking for either re-election or, the next space. So if you're an MCA, probably you want to be a member of National Assembly or an MP. What kind of legacy do you want to give to your people? And when they judge you in 2027, what will you be telling them about the BBI and, of course, about the various gains that this entire process has to give to the people? So I think I want to be a very strong proponent, as rightfully said, Tricks, of the content, right. And especially look at the kind of experience that we have had with devolution almost 7 years since we began this.
Okay, Kevin, a common rather common issue that has come up is the fact that the civic education is very low when it comes to this, and copies are not available. So even if you're looking at this issue at this point, how does it sit with you that people can't even read for themselves and understand and get a hold of the issues as well as one would hope?
Tricks, there has been such a huge challenge to the proponents of this particular process. And right from the onset, I think most citizens have been asking for these copies. And one thing that they have said is that you can be able to download the report and even the bill from online platforms and all that. But I think that for a country that we are talking about First Amendment, from the words of His Excellency the President, the proponents and the promoters of the BBI should have planned and programmed to be able to make copies available. Yes, I've traversed a few areas in this country where even MCAs themselves have volunteered to make copies, and there are institutions, individuals, and different organizations like ours that have gone ahead to have summarized versions. Just a 6-page document of what the report says and also what the amendment bill says. And so you make those copies and you take them to the people. But those are just volitions, and is an individual or organizations that want to be seen to be doing their patriotic duty. As a government, and particularly because this constitution amendment process is promoted by the government of the day, it should have been incumbent upon them to ensure that they use the various national government administrative offices up to the village level to ensure that citizens have copies, because government has the capacity. We have been told that there has been a serious budget challenge on the BBI process, for which I partly agree and largely disagree. Because if government is seeking to beat certain timelines with a particular historic and a progressive process like the BBI, they should be able to make it easy for citizens to be able to access, interact with, interrogate, and then make clear their comments and also their positions. And that is why the politicians are taking advantage, because a lot of what I have heard out there is not true about the BBI process, Tricks, particularly from certain very strong political positions. But it is because they are taking advantage of the ignorance of the people. And so that therefore means that the proponents of the BBI process must begin to consider it very valuable for citizens to have copies. There is no way a government that is interested in a First Amendment can be able to move on with a process for which is as opaque as this process has already been taken to the people. Okay. So even the MCs that we are having a conversation with right now, I think it is irresponsible to come and say, my people don't have copies. Yes, it is your responsibility to represent them, and of course all the other MCAs, wherever they are, those who are still waiting for copies, please come out there and through your representative duty given to you by the Constitution to represent your people, make it easy also for them to understand this particular process.
Honorable Kiragu, Kirugas, sorry, you're laughing as Kevin Osito talks about the availability or lack thereof of these copies. What is your reaction to what he has just said?
The issue of BBI has been complicated from the word go.
Indeed.
Yesterday, I was listening to one of the co-chair, I think he's a co-chair, Honorable Dennis Waweru. He was saying, we want to pass BBI because there are some laws we want to use in 2022. Then along the way, he says, BBI is not about 2022. it becomes paradoxical. You are saying this, you are denying it. Now, I support the gentleman who has just talked, the analyst.
Yes.
And, you know, like he says, if the government wanted every Kenyan to have a copy of BBI, they would have it.
Okay.
Now, you know, the issue of BBI, you know, at one time we were being told even a dot cannot be changed, then it was changed. I think it has been changed like 3 times.
4.
Or even 4. So, even if you wanted as an MCA to maybe give copies to your people, which copy will you give them? That's one of the challenges.
Yes.
Then, this issue we are talking about concentrating more on content.
Yes.
You know, this is very, very vital. And like I was saying before, you know, we need to ask ourselves, is BBI entirely good? Is BBI loaded with some good parts and some others which are not even logical? You know, we need to question that. And you know me, I want to differ with my colleague here, Honorable Gachuhi. No one will dictate to me how I will vote. My majority leader cannot tell me how I'll vote for this document. I want to interrogate. And one of the areas that is very, very crucial. For example, when we are told that 5% of the resources will go to the grassroots. Right now, we have had governors threatening to go to court. You have been hearing this news.
Yes, yes, yes.
Threatening to go to court because 15% cannot be given or cannot be fully given to them.
Last year.
Then we come here and we are saying that the 5% will go to counties. Let us take the current scenario in our country.
For the economy.
Of our economy. We are talking of an economy whereby we are able to raise about 1.6 trillion. Isn't it so? 1.6 trillion. Now, we have the national debt. And as a friend was telling me, that the debt, when the current debt, the economic debt matures, we can pay up to 1 trillion of our current income, you know, to offset this debt. Now, we are left with 600 billion. Now, tell me that 5%, right? That 5% of this money, you know, it comes to almost, now you find that about 550 billion goes to the counties.
Yes.
So, you are left with about 50 billion to be used by the national government to pay salaries, to pay what? Is this logical? Is this practical? You know, these are the questions we need to question.
Yeah, very.
And we don't have to, you know, you don't have to say, no, this man is bad, this man is opposing the president.
The facts speak for themselves.
The facts speak for themselves.
Yes.
Let's be practical.
Yes.
There's nothing about being against the president there. He's my party leader. I support him fully. But I have to be logical. I have to question on behalf of my people. Otherwise, you find that even after we get to the next government, their first duty will be to tell us, well, we mean well, but this is impractical.
Okay.
We cannot be able to implement this.
Yeah, Honorable Gichuri, can you trust that all MCAs shall be putting these contents to that kind of analysis and being very logical and then voting for that, especially when it comes to issues such as resource allocations, very important issues, and when it comes to devolution, it's all about the resources coming down to the grassroots. We would hope that that is a reality that can be actualized. But can you hope that actually MCAs will be looking at it through a similar lens, such as Honorable Thuku is?
Absolutely not, because most of the MCAs, yes, actually, to be very sincere, most of them have not even had this bill.
Okay.
I can look at this camera like this and attest to it that they have not even led. They are waiting to be swayed politically.
Okay.
They are waiting to be swayed financially. They are waiting to be swayed through intimidation. and they are waiting to be swayed to pass it in all these other orthodox means. But what I can say about this bill, as I said earlier, that at least some part of it is a good. It has some good issues with it, but those issues that underline, unless they are addressed, you'll always find a lot of resistance. And then this BBI, the way it started, every time, the reason why we are taking it as a political document, and actually it is, because it is a political document, is because after the handshake, that's when this document came up. And this handshake, you cannot keep on shaking somebody's hand from morning to evening. You have to leave the hand. You cannot shake somebody's hand from morning to evening. And since the hand was shaken and the morning left, and now it is almost evening, we are almost over with this term, we could have been left at least this document to come at the last stages of this term, so that, because most people on the ground, and we are representatives of this Wajiko.
Yes, yes.
And Wajiko is saying that this thing is untimely. It should come at the end of the term, maybe accompanying the campaigns and the elections of 2022. But because there's some haste, that some people think that if they pass this referendum, they will be able to clinch the presidential positions, they'll be able to clinch the prime minister positions. That this is why all this haste. It's not about Wajiko. It's about the haste that these people want, the leaders want for themselves. It is not about even Wajiko. But inside there, because this bill has been changed several times, and I've been having those documents with me every time, you'll find that every time there's a complaint, you are told that it is not going to be changed, but after some time, it is sneaked. Until it is sneaked now, I think the third or fourth time, and then it has now been passed. And we don't know what has been passed, because we don't have the final draft. We were not given the final draft. We don't even know whether they are passing the first, or the second, or the third. It is good and very important. And if you remember, during the 2010 referendum, we had the document in the newspapers. We had the document in the newspapers. Everybody could access, because the government by then was ready for the constitutional moment that was ahead of us. But it's like this one is being hastened. It is being made too quick, and we are not comfortable, very much comfortable with it, because of the haste and because of the underlying issues that our Wanjiku is having. And we are speaking on behalf. And let me tell you, I cannot support it if my people are telling me, if you support this bill, you are going to lose your seat. I'm a representative. So I have to be very cautious and very careful, because whoever put me in this position is telling me, don't pass this bill. If I happen to pass it, I will lose my seat, and I don't intend to. But every time we are trying to react to this bill, and I'm sure you have seen it in our areas. You go mentioned about the BBI, you are chased away or you are booed. How do we go about it? We need to have a conversation for everybody to be on board, and because they think there are some people who are being left out, and others are being brought in through the back door.
Kevin Osido, this situation, the draft bill seems to be shrouded with a lot of political agenda, as the MCAs in studio have suggested. How does that sit with you? And of course, some of the proposals are being deemed as unrealistic, such as the 35% that is being promised, yet we even struggle with the 15% that we are supposed to be getting as things are and set up.
Tricks. I am shocked. I am perplexed. I am utterly disturbed by the comments, some of the comments that are coming from our elected in capital leaders. One, please stop thinking about what others are saying on this process. Stop talking about what others are saying. Stop listening to what others are saying for you to comment on this process. Read the BBI report 1, read the BBI report 2, and then take your time to read the bill to amend the Constitution of Kenya, the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020. I wish to take this opportunity to disagree with some of those comments because they are not facts of the BBI. In fact, the proposals on devolution, and I am not saying that I am in total agreement with the BBI report, but on devolution, I will give the drafters an A- with the remaining 5 points on an A+ for lack of effective citizen engagement. But if you look at, for instance, the proposal to increase allocation, the report has told you that Kenyans said that counties are struggling because they have to wait for the exchequer, National Treasury, to give them money, and Treasury says we have to wait for the Senate and National Assembly to agree on what is called division of revenue allocation. And the two MCAs know about this because CAF has been part of these processes and all county assemblies are members of the County Assemblies Forum. They have mentioned the leadership of the houses that is led by the Speaker, guided together with the Speaker's panel, including majority and minority leaders and the whips. All those people, as they rightfully said, make decisions. The BBI report says, and if you look at amendments, I think it's in around 202 all the way to 218, it shows you the proposal on how to amend this issue and to cure it. And it says, we are going to strengthen the Controller of Budgets Office and the Auditor General so that then, in the event that National Assembly and Senate fail to agree, we will give power to counties to withdraw a percentage of resources which is supposed to be given to them so that counties do not suffer, citizens do not suffer, and services are continued to be delivered. That is one. Number two, the BBI report has told you that yes, we have a proposal of 35%. And what this is saying is that counties will be given their resources based on a number of parameters, tricks, because the institution that gives indicators on how counties receive monies is called the Commission on Revenue Allocation. And one of the issues that have been there is about what is called the formula, which the BBI has also indicated new proposals, which include that counties will get their allocations based on their ability to fight corruption. Because the gentleman who spoke about resources said, these resources go to the counties and they are stolen. We have governors who have been impeached. We have governors who have court cases today, yet they are still serving as governors. The BBI report has said there is no court case that is up to the level of a governor that will not have a time frame of discharge, which is a positive proposal. The BBI report has said counties will be given this thing we are calling 35% because counties will have to, on their own,
Mr.
show how they
I'd like to pause you there so that Honorable Thuku can also react to, because you are coming back at something that he did say. So please go ahead, Honorable Thuku.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. You see, he still, okay, I respect his opinion, but he still doesn't address the issue of how we shall cure this lacuna or this problem such that we are not able to fully give the counties 15%. Of course, the challenges that he's talking about are there. But you see, you remember there was a very heated argument at some point which drew the president in and the governors.
Yes.
And the president said, you have to take this or leave it. So the issue is, and I want someone to tell me, how are we, or where are we going to get the money that we are promising the counties? Because, of course, it's good news. I want to see access roads at the grassroots areas being addressed. We want to see more facilities at the grassroots. These are our people. They have made us their leaders. We agree they deserve more. But are we putting this just as a bait so that we can get people to come as they pass this suggestion or this proposal that resources will come down will trickle down to the grassroots, such that when we want to expand the executive, are we using this as a bait so that we can get these seats that we want on this side?
Okay.
You know, those are the things I'm saying we need to interrogate. And because my people have sent me there in the assembly to be asking these questions on their behalf, I must ask them because I want to be satisfied that the proposals that are being made will be able to be implemented. Otherwise, we shall be faced with a situation whereby we are promising things which cannot be delivered. And also, I want to be sure that this process, and by the way, let us agree this is a very political process, because you know it came out of the handshake, and the handshake is the one that gave birth to this process. So I want to be sure that, for example, if you ask me, I know my president is very genuine, but I want to be sure the other side is not, because you know there has been evidence all over. We want to know for real they are not using this process to fight some people, you know, like they are calling us Tagatanga. We want to be sure it's about the interest of the common mwananchi and not fighting the DP as they have been doing in all their rallies. Thank you very much.
Very loaded comment. And just hold on, Honorable Gichuhi. We shall be going on a